Hello, I'm Owen Bardini, he/they, the Computer Games Promotion and Marketing Assistant at Manmet University. So would you like to introduce yourself with your name and what year you graduated in?
Yeah, sure. So I am Federico he, him. I graduated in 2021.
Can you briefly tell us what your job role is and what led you to pursue this job position?
Yeah, sure. So I'm a game designer. I worked on Power Wash at Future Lab, and I always loved video games throughout my whole life. And yeah, it's just been sort of a dream of mine to be always work in the industry and be a game designer, really.
What specific aspects of your education do you think were the most valuable in helping you get your job in the industry?
I'd say definitely sort of getting my hands on the engine, designing and making games that would possibly and eventually be added to my portfolio. It gave me sort of the confidence to be like, yes, I could actually make a game by myself if I wanted to, and gave me the sort of knowledge to do so eventually.
So how did you land your first job, and could you walk us through the application and interview process?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I graduated, and after doing so, I did start to apply to various roles. Initially, actually, I wanted to be a programmer, and I applied for those, and it was almost casual or destiny that I had an interview. I think it was Grads at Games, an interview with my now manager, and they mentioned that they didn't have any programming roles; they had design, and I was like, yeah, sure, that could be interesting, definitely. And the interview process was fairly simple. I had basically a chat with him at first, and then he assigned me a task to do, which was breaking down an object, which is basically what I've been doing for Power Wash, deciding sort of how an object is divided so that with how it would be cleaned, so which bits would ding, and so that was like a task. And actually I learned afterwards that it wasn't so much so as the proficiency in breaking down, but it was how I would manage the feedback and how I would maybe defend or my ideas and things like that. So that was quite interesting. And yeah, after that, because actually I really wanted the role of game designer, after the interview, I had an idea of a possible new level for Power Wash. And so I sent them an email saying like, hey, I have this idea. I could send it to you by email or something. And they were like, yeah, sure, we can have a chat this afternoon. And I was like, panicked. Wow, this afternoon. Cool. So I prepared everything, and I basically applied to the feedback that was given to me during the interview. And they really liked it. And after that, yeah, I got hired.
So was there any challenging parts with transitioning from being just a regular university student into a working industry professional?
Well, I'd say that it was challenging somewhat. I'd say it depends how skilled and how good the sort of your manager and the people sort of training you are. Because obviously, if you have no experience in the games industry and you find a graduate role, of course you won't have like almost any of the skills that they require. And so, in the end, if you do manage to find a really good position where they instruct you, it shouldn't be too hard to adapt to that, I think.
Any specific skills or tools that you learned during your studies that you think directly contributed to getting your first job?
Um, I'd say, as I mentioned before, definitely the various projects that I did, like my dissertation project or one of the group projects towards the last year was very, very useful. Taught me how to work in a team. I was, I guess, in the interesting position of leading a team, so that was really interesting. And so those kind of things gave me definitely the confidence and independence to then that would be definitely applied when I started working.
So, how important was your portfolio in securing position, and what tips would you give to current students about creating a strong portfolio?
I think the portfolio is definitely the strongest and most important part of finding a job, I would say, because a portfolio shows how big and how the quality of the games you've made in your portfolio directly tells the recruiter and employer how much you're passionate for the games industry, And actually, something I would definitely very much recommend, especially for students that are about to graduate or going to graduate soon, is that to join game jams. But something really helped me and created the best sort of game in my portfolio at the time was joining this competition called Transfuser. Basically, it's literally like this: you submit an idea for a game, or you join a team, and you basically create a game simulates a professional studio environment, and they give you some money basically to create the game, depending if you're the leader of the team or not. And I've made what was at the time the biggest portfolio piece, and definitely something that made me stand out against the other candidates to have created such a intricate and large sort of game.
Next question of, did you participate in any internships, game jams, or side projects during your studies, and did these experiences impact your job search?
Yeah, literally, Transfuser participated in it. There are two pathways. There's like the employment, I think, pathway, and the indie studio pathway. The employment is you yourself make a game by yourself and then present it to companies. That's that. I haven't done that, but that must be really useful, especially if you directly show to some companies your proficiency in doing so. And whereas the indie sort of studio is technically, if you do win, because there's like I think 3 or 4 groups that would win, you get like I think at the time it was like £20,000 or something around that line to publish the game, to try and actively create an actual indie company. So if it is something you're interested in, that's really cool. But even if you don't win, we actually did manage to like get the audience award, for example. But we did a really cool game, and it was bolstered my portfolio.
Back, is there anything you wish you had done differently during your time as a student that might have made your job searching easier?
I'd say yes, but I still don't know if I would have followed my own advice, because I would definitely tell myself to do more games, just make more games. You don't necessarily need to participate at a game jam. Just whenever you have some nice free time, not all of your free time, of course, but some free time, make your own little game. And the more you make these, the more proficient you get at being an engine and at creating games, and eventually you will have just stronger portfolio pieces that you can show employers. I mean, I'm not a super particularly hardworking person, so again, I'm not sure if I would have followed my own advice, but if there is an advice that you want to follow, definitely is this: do make games.
What advice would you give to current students or recent graduates who are struggling to break into the game industry in particular?
So when I graduated and after I did Transfuser and I started actively applying to jobs, my sort of secondary plan, if I didn't, I gave myself a year basically to just apply to jobs, do some extra courses and do some more games. If I didn't get a job by the end of maybe the summer, I would have I had already applied to some like master's degree and stuff like that for games. So there's always that, and then after that, then again, that would be you would then keep going and applying for more jobs after a master's. But I'd say just keep at it, especially now that I know the industry is super competitive. And it is extremely hard, but always have a plan for the future. Always know your next steps. Always make plan Bs and stuff. And I was very fortunate to find that job. But if I didn't, I would have got to a master's, and then after a master's, I would have had even a bigger portfolio and more education, and I would have an even greater percentage and possibility of getting.
Thank you very much for joining us.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
See you later.